I've got some terrible news. The Batman 2 has been delayed an entire year. What? Right. I don't know where to start with this. So, guys, I'm just going to pre-warn you now. Before we get into this, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to be a bit ranty. My thoughts aren't going to line up properly. I'm going to be a bit... Let's go to you first, Paul. Paul,
okay.
The Batman 2 has been delayed because of the strikes.
Yeah.
What are we thinking about this?
This was news I did not want to see. The Batman was my favorite movie of 2022. I went to watch it 10 times at the cinema. I absolutely adored that movie. I'm itching. I'm gasping for part 2. I want to see it. This delay, I don't know. I don't even feel like they've even started filming it or anything. Like normally we hear this news that they've started filming. We haven't heard nothing. We haven't heard nothing about them starting going into pre-production or anything. Like I don't feel like anything. There's nothing moving with the Batman Part 2 at the moment. Now they have come out and said it's because of the strikes that happened last year. Obviously
I'm not buying it.
No, I'm not buying it either. I think there's people reporting online, and this is just pure speculation. They've got nothing to back this up with, no proof. But I've seen a few people say they think this is a James Gunn decision to push this back so it doesn't clash with the relaunch of his new DC EU or whatever he is calling it. Now, I'm a big fan of DC, but without Batman is my boy. Batman's my favorite comic book character of all time. He's arguably one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. I couldn't, if you're delaying this movie for your reboot of DC, I don't want to see them. I'd rather see this. If I had a choice now, if someone said to me right now, you can watch the Batman Part 2 or a new Superman movie, it would be the Batman Part 2 all bloody day long, and I wouldn't even have to think about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is devastating news. I'm not going to say I couldn't believe it because I think the writing was on the wall for a while. Like you say, we hadn't heard any news about this film whatsoever in the last year. A couple of little rumors here and there, maybe it's about who the villain's going to be and whatnot. But I just think this is a massive blunder. I'm not going to lie. I think I don't believe that 6 to 5 months or whatever the strikes were is the cause of this film being pushed back. I think there's a couple of things going on here, and I'm not in the camp of thinking that James Gunn has moved it out of next year because he's got his Superman film coming out. What a great move to have arguably two of the most popular superheroes that are both making big money for DC and Warner Brothers to come out the same year. 2025 could have been the year of Batman and Superman. Do you know what I mean? But
that's a good point.
There's also, you do have to factor in a little bit. If they were to come out in the same year, now, me and you, Paul, we wouldn't be confused knowing that these were separate universes. We knew this Batman would not be meeting this Clark Kent. But for the likes of my brother, who's got no idea, but he does sort of know that Superman and Batman are mates, he'd be a bit confused with so is Robert Pattinson going to go and meet this new Superman at some point? And you'd have to explain to him. So do you think that maybe a little factor into it, the confusion aspect of it?
Possibly. I mean, we touched on that on a couple of streams back about like regular cinema goers maybe being a bit confused. And I'm talking like, when you go and take like your mum and dad to the movie, they'll be like, what's going on, sort of thing. Like the likes of us and people in the sort of the comic book movie sphere will know what the crack is. I don't know, man. It's just a heartbreak thing. Like, you don't want to see. The last time this happened to me, and it absolutely broke my heart, was when I believe The Last Jedi was pushed back a whole year. I believe it was supposed to come out 1 year, and then they come out saying we're pushing it till next Christmas. I was like, oh my God, that is heartbreaking, because I was really riding the new sort of Disney Star Wars train at the time. But, you know, it's 2022, 4 years between. I don't know. I'm not saying that's, 4 years between movies. There's been a lot longer wait for sequels in the past, but I think we're in a day and age now where we view sort of these sort of cinematic movies, these cinematic, big universes, like giant TV shows that just happen to be on the cinema, and we're just itching for the next episode or next movie.
Yeah.
So having to wait longer is just crap.
But
the end of the day.
Oh, lost Paul there. There he is.
No. Go on.
No, I was just, to me, 4.5 years is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I think it's mental. I think it's absolutely.
It is
mental.
long. But at the end of the day, if Matt Reeves needs the more time to make this movie, and he wants to make it, he's going to make it the best possible sequel he can come up with, and he needs the more time, then cool, I'll wait. But if this comes out and it ain't as good as part one, I'll see my ass.
Yeah. I'm totally admit I'm just being an entitled little fanboy here.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, I will say, the Batman Part 1, first lines of it, like, you can see that this is year 2 of his career. It's very much established. This is Batman's early career. Yeah. So by the time we get into Part 2, Robert Pattinson's going to be in his 40s. He will have had a kid by then. It just seems a bit like, I don't know. And the longer we leave this, and James Gunn is eventually going to bring a Batman into the DCU fold.
Yeah.
We're going to have 2 Batmen that are exactly the same age, which is actually giving me more credence in my argument that I think the Batman in the DCU will end up being older than Robert Pattinson, and I think he'll be older than David Cornsweet by, like, I'm honestly talking like by 10 years here. For that Batman to have a Damian Wayne in his life now, that means he's already had a Robin that's turned into a Nightwing, and he's had a Batgirl. Do you know what I mean? And by rights, if we're going off comic book law, he's had a Tim Drake as well. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure, man. I do think this DCU has to be an older Batman. But jumping back to the Batman Part 2, I thought, like, all right, 2026, maybe it'll be a summer release. But no, it's October. So it's just like, it's way back in the end of the year for that. But they do.
I see someone on Twitter put the long Halloween.
Yeah, too right. And I don't think we'll be like that far off a similar. I think it'll be like a mixture between the Long Halloween and Hush. I think it'll be a bit of a merging of them stories, because I think it was announced that Barry Keoghan, for having no news about the Batman 2, Barry Keoghan was announced that he is definitely going to be in Part 2. I hope it's just like a little side character, like they use Scarecrow in the Nolan trilogy.
They've said so along using him along the lines of what they did with Hannibal Lecter in the Silence of the Lambs, sort of like in prison, sort of help him Batman, like sort of thing. Yeah, I read that and I was like, ooh, yeah. But listen, man, it seems a long way away now, but the speed that these years are flying by at the moment, for me anyway, feels like a blink and it's Christmas again.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's here quicker, so it feels like it'll be here a lot quicker than it. At the moment, it seems like it's miles away, but once this, I don't know. Hopefully, it's enough to keep us occupied between now and then.
And I said it the other day, and I don't 100% mean this in bad faith. Well, I do a little bit. It does remind me of the J.J. Abrams situation with Star Wars. So, we're all well aware that they had serious lack of plans when it came to the sequel trilogy in Star Wars. I just don't want the same thing to happen to, like you say, a character that I love. Do you know what I mean? And I did love the Batman. I thought it was an interesting dark take on the Batman. We went for like this Seven sort of vibe, which I absolutely loved, focusing more on the detective aspect of it and stuff like that. But yeah, mate, I could just cry all day about this one. I really could. The Batman Part 2. I'll be 32 when this comes out. Fuck's sake, man. And
I'll
just
be
to put
older.
Just to put
Did part one get delayed as well? By the way, if I can
Yes,
remember,
it
didn't
did.
that get?
Yeah.
It did.
Got,
That got a bit
I
of a
think,
delay.
I think it got a big delay. I think it was like a year delay on that one as well. But
Mhm.
I just thought, like, you would have thought, you know, there was never any like idea that we were only going to do one of these films. That it was never going to be an option for like a Batman film to come out. It's going to make loads of money. Like,
Yeah.
it's you know, even Joker, they were dead set on like, oh, the Joker's just a one and done. No, it made $1 billion. You're making another one. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'll be there midnight showing for this one. Batman's the only one I do midnight showings for these days, guys. But yeah, very sad, very sad. But hopefully Matt Reeves will cook something brilliant for us. And I'm forgetting, mate, we've got the Penguin to tide us over. So
Yeah.
We'll
Is that this year or that next year coming out?
It's got to be this year, surely. I feel like that's been getting made forever now.